Wow, that's shocking. Starting out the day with some bigger news that way with CJ Gardner-Johnson being traded. I don't entirely know what to make of that. Thomas, you and I are texting beforehand. What's up, everybody? We're kind of learning this news right about as you guys are, as it broke about, 25 minutes ago. Uh, if you haven't seen, I'll just put it on the screen. We'll get into it, of course. But Adam Schefter, the first one breaking the news of another Texans trade and saying Houston is acquiring CJ Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles in exchange for former first-round pick Kenyon Green. Trade includes a pick swap, Eagles getting a 2026 fifth-round pick, and the Texans getting a 2026 sixth. And Thomas, curious to get your thoughts, but just real quickly, I will say, whenever I saw this is one of those that you're like, this is a fake Adam Schefter account, right? Like, this is one of those that's a very similar, but you're trying to fake people out. CJ Gardner-Johnson, just like that, has been traded and has got to be for sure the most shocking move for the Eagles, but one of the most shocking trades in a while. I don't know what happened.
Well, I'm trying to make sense of it. And so let's just get a couple of facts out of the way, Josh. First off, this is not for any sort of cap money savings. Anthony DeBona has a great tweet up explaining you're basically saving $900,000 with your cap room overall. And so my first thought was, okay, they're trying to create extra cap space. That way they can re-sign Mekhi Becton or maybe make a bigger move. We don't know yet. Doesn't seem to be the case with this move. So first off, it's not a money-saving move. Get that out of the way. Second off, you do have to wonder, Josh, if CJ Gardner-Johnson has burned bridges in Philadelphia. He's always been kind of the louder, more riled-up guy. Obviously, the beef with Darius Slay was something that was very public last week. I personally like that about him in terms of being kind of the, bodyguard, the Draymond Green, if you will, of the Birds secondary. And so you do wonder if inside the locker room, he kind of burnt some bridges. The big question, though, here is, what's the end goal? Because either they are trying to bring back Mekhi Becton, and this is, something that needed to get done some way, somehow, although, again, not monetarily, but getting Kenyon Green, he's a guard, and that basically tells you that they're expecting to lose Mekhi Becton, in my opinion. Now, guys like John Clark, and obviously guys like John McMullen have said that Becton is not out of the running just yet, so we got to wait and see if Becton eventually comes back. But you are now, Josh, taking what was really one of the best safety tandems in the National Football League, the smarts of Reed Blankenship, the cover skills of Reed Blankenship, and the hard-hitting enforcedness of CJ Gardner-Johnson, and putting a ton of pressure on Sidney Brown. And unless you have some grand scheme that you're guaranteed Malachi Starks from Georgia is going to be at 32 in this year's draft, they're going to roll with Sidney Brown out there next year, who we all like. I think he's got potential. But CJ Gardner-Johnson's one of the better safeties in the league right now. This is a very shocking trade that I can't quite figure out what the next move and the whole plan is overall.
Yeah, it's I can't either. We're texting about it before we hop on here. Try to be as optimistic as we can. I think the biggest thing for me is then I'll say it's Howie Roseman, so he does have a plan.
Right.
But we've also seen instances where you miss on this. Now, he's got this has to play a factor, right? Like, you think about the defensive identity, and I know people are saying this in the comments as well, but remember the clip of the 49ers coming into town whenever CJ had been sent away, and they didn't bring him back, and James Bradbury's getting shoved around, like, just not a physicality, not a physical team, a team that lacks swagger, passion, energy, all this other stuff. So when CJ got signed, when that happened last year and brought back to Philly, we're all going like, hey, there you go. That's the guy that's the spirit, the heart and soul of the defense. Say what you will about CJ. Sure, is a distraction sometimes. Yeah. Does he say some things that are like, okay, man, maybe you just lay low. It doesn't need to be said there, right? But there's some things that happen within the drama, the locker room, all that you mentioned. It's not just him. Yes, there's other players, but on his side there's a lot of times a common denominator. But you take that. That comes with the territory. That is who CJ Gardner-Johnson is. And so I've got to believe, though, because Howie knows, and he saw what happened to the defense when CJ did not come back the first time.
It's true.
So for him to go through and take the motions or make the motions to trade him there, I'm going to trust it. I'll still be honest. I don't like it. This is one of those moves that for sure, out of everything that's happened so far, all the others, I was like, look, we're going to lose Josh Sweat. We're going to lose Milton Williams. Those are all expected. Those are planned on. This is one of those moves, Thomas, that, I mean, hey, the defense still has Zach Bond, right? The defense still has Jalen Carter. The defense has Nolan Smith. You can go down the list. There's lots of guys. They got lots of guys, more than 2023. No, more than coming off of that. But CJ Gardner-Johnson, like, he was one of the big integral parts of having that passion, that swagger, playing with that fire. And you're right. Hey, hope for Sidney Brown. belief in him. Sure, he's got some physical tools, he's got some ability, but man, this is one of those I'm just curious. Like this to me feels like it'll be a could be. Won't not gonna say it is, but could be a bigger loss of the mental side of what's on the field rather than just like the physical tools in general. Just the mental and that passion and character of the team. Lots of guys again. So I'm not freaking out. Again, it's not the sky is falling, but it is one of those moves. I'm trying to wrap my head around this just actually happened. I know I see tons of people. Did this just happen? Is it for real? Jumping on, yes, CJ Gardner-Johnson. I'll put the tweet up here again for those that are asking and wanting validation. But multiple reports. This is not one report being a rumor or anything like that. Adam Schefter and then others, Ian Rappaport, and others confirming. But CJ Gardner-Johnson being traded to the Texans. Kenyon Green, guard, by the way, if you're not familiar with him, former first-round pick. But yeah, I think Thomas, you're right. It's that, and also Mekhi Becton is, I mean, 5%. Like you don't trade for a guard here now to say, okay, hey, Becton is going to be coming back. So I think you also plan on moving on from Mekhi Becton with this move.
Well, another thought process on the CJ Gardner-Johnson aspect of it is it's not like he had a really expensive contract. He had a 3-year, $10 million a year deal, and he still had 2 years left on that. He was like the 15th highest paid safety in the NFL. Your top tier safeties are getting almost $20 million a year. And so you had a very team-friendly contract with Gardner-Johnson that you're now shipping away to the Houston Texans. And quickly on Kenyon Green, Josh, you mentioned former first-round draft pick, didn't play in 2023, missed the whole entire season with a shoulder injury, comes back in 2024, loses his starting job during the year, and I believe was rated 83 out of 84 by PFF last year in terms of guards that actually played a decent amount of starting snaps. And so you are not getting a Mekhi Becton level guard. And as you mentioned, the real odds of actually bringing back Mekhi Becton, I think after you've already traded for a guard, doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. My guess right now, if Becton is not coming back, Steen will be your starting right guard, and then Kenyon Green will be the Tyler Steen of the Eagle offensive line and be that backup kind of swing guard to go to either the left or the right side. And so it's not like you're getting some sort of world-beating offensive lineman and saving all this money by trading CJ Gardner-Johnson. Now, Howie Roseman did kind of warn us at the NFL Combine that it's not going to be a normal offseason, that it was going to be sort of, hold on to your hats. You might lose some people, but this is not one we expected to lose. You mentioned all the ones yesterday. We thought all of them were going to be gone except for maybe Isaiah Rodgers. And now you have serious questions, not only on the defensive line. I think they need to add an edge rusher. You do obviously have questions on the offensive line because we hope Tyler Steen can be the guy. Remains to be seen. But now safety and the other cornerback spot is still a hole here. And so Philadelphia thankfully has a lot of draft picks. They still have free agent money. They haven't signed anybody so far with $30 million in cap space, estimated, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And they need to start making some moves here to plug some holes and I think calm some fans down. And again, Howie we trust. I think he's always got a plan. Doesn't mean he's 100% out of 100%. He's not batting 1,000 as the Eagles GM, and he's had some misses, and losing Gardner-Johnson 2 years ago was one of those.
Yes, yep. As you said, yeah, he's not inflammable, but close. He's made some moves, or a roundabout way to make things right. But it's okay. It's very early still. I know. Immediate knee-jerk reaction is like, I don't know what's going on here, but we will trust it. And as Lane Johnson himself even said in a tweet right after the news broke, Howie season with the eye emojis. So everybody expects that, I suppose. But man, it's wild.
Well, and let's just say this about CJ Gardner-Johnson. Brandon Lee Gowton has a great tweet up right now. He has put 2 and 2 together and said that 4 teams in the last 4 years, or 4 times in the last 4 years, a team has moved off of CJ Gardner-Johnson after one season. Remember, he was a Saint, then was traded to the Eagles, then was traded to the Detroit Lions, or was let go and signed to the Detroit Lions, and then came back to Philadelphia, and now has been traded again. I think that we can't overall ignore the fact that maybe behind the scenes, CJ Gardner-Johnson is not necessarily a player the Philadelphia Eagles want in that locker room, because externally we see what he does on the football field, and he seems like a captain, a leader, fiery, yes, but you kind of want that in a hard-hitting safety, kind of a crazy guy who runs around there with no real concern for his own health and lays the wood and makes big hits and takes tip ball interceptions for pick sixes. But I do wonder if behind the scenes something has been brewing in Philadelphia to the point that they said, you know what, we like Sidney Brown. We can draft another person behind him. will be okay without CJ Gardner-Johnson because of what's happening inside the locker room. But the problem is, Josh, we have no way to know this. The really only
Sure.
indicator we've gotten was Darius Slay last week on his podcast talking about the next man up in the leadership role with Slay now out and saying Reed Blankenship and not saying Gardner-Johnson. Now, Gardner-Johnson attacked him on Twitter. Slay came back and said, I didn't, not mention you on purpose. I just was talking about Reed because I like Reed. But that could have been an indication to us that, Gardner-Johnson is not this all-world leader that you want to be the face of your defense. And maybe that plays a role in it. I think it has to. We just have no way to know for sure.
Yeah, I think it does. Also, I'm going to get to some of these super chats too. We see those, going to get to those, just kind of immediate reactions for CJ being traded. Lewis Cine is another thought, right? Like, so Philly Dogs, but we haven't seen him out there on the field with the Eagles. Practices, they've seen it, but like, you haven't seen him out there in actual legit action.
Right.
Plus, it's not like he really proved a ton earlier in his career. I mean, that's why he was available for the Eagles to get. So, again, can't totally rule it out. And say Nick Emanwari. Yeah, okay. Well, we might try to make a move in the draft, but it's just one of those that's there's lots of moves that typically you're like, okay, hey, they're probably going to move in this direction. They might go for this type of a player and or position. This is one of those totally out of left field shocker. And they feel good enough about it because you make a trade. As you said, Thomas, it's not like you had a guy that compensation, you're sitting there going, we got to get out of this contract. Like, this is a bad contract for us to be in. It makes no sense at all. You're playing with house money, basically, with his contract, the way that's set up. So it had to be something that we're not privy to yet, that probably will come out soon for more official details and everything there. But they felt good enough, I suppose, to get out of it. Wixie with the 2, this move is utter garbage. See, now this
people don't like
it. Go back and forth, but it makes sense. This move is utter garbage. I can't defend Howie.
Well, I think that once we get to a 30,000-foot view and get a couple days in the future, you will be able to defend Howie and see his thinking here. Let's throw out a name here, Josh, because like we keep saying, they have money in free agency. Damar Hamlin. There have been some of those kind of weird Twitter accounts that aren't Adam Schefter who have mentioned Damar Hamlin in Philadelphia. It's why I haven't talked about it on my show, because it's not really like a Twitter handle that you want to say is batting 1,000 or even batting 400, I would say. But the Damar Hamlin free agency kind of link technically is there, and it would make sense, right? Because if they like Sidney Brown but are worried about Sidney Brown's cover ability, which I think is kind of his liability there, good hitter, good guy in the box, but coverage is kind of the issue. And if you're worried about his injury history, then maybe a Damar Hamlin, a veteran who started in Buffalo last year, could come in and be that guy. There's always the option for Malachi Starks. There's always an option for somebody in the draft. But it's really hard, though, to go in the draft, Josh, especially Howie Roseman, and have like one guy in mind to fill a hole. Philadelphia is in the draft business recently of drafting best available, not going into the draft and saying, okay, well, we're at 10. We need a running back. We got to take a running back. It's like, who's the best available guy? And that's been a massive success for them over the past 3 seasons. Now you don't want to enter the draft and be like, well, we got to get a safety. So whoever's available at 32, no matter the fit, has got to be our guy. That's why you start to wonder, is there another free agent move here, similar money, like a Damar Hamlin, that you could bring in and let him compete with Sidney Brown? Now, I don't think Damar Hamlin's like a world-beating safety. He was, viable as a starter last year. But a name to keep an eye on as the day progresses, because this is clearly the first of what's going to be a couple dominoes in Philadelphia.
Yeah, this can't be a knee-jerk reaction from Howie. I mean, hardly anything is, but this can't be a knee-jerk reaction. Oh, let me just trade our safety here, just because, kind of on a whim. Let's go get a guard, because it has ramifications both ways. It's not just CJ Gardner-Johnson. You make this move, and you're essentially telling Mekhi Becton, like, we're not going to be bringing you back. I mean, maybe you might have this dude as just depth, and it's not impossible if Mekhi Becton has no market out there, and then you try to make something. But it does feel like the writing's on the wall for multiple moves because of that. Green Women with a 5. Actually, a couple of these similar sentiment, but I blame the person who hit Howie with the beer can. Big Dom Shiano with a 2, also saying Howie got fleeced. Bud Light can has long-term effect. So going with the hit in the head, and he lost his mind for a split second.
I don't think he got fleeced. I do want to say, when it comes to trades in the NFL, especially for non-Myles Garrett level players, like non-best at their position, it normally is less than people think. Because I think if you were to ask an Eagle fan, what's Gardner-Johnson worth, they'd say a 3rd. In reality, in the National Football League, he's worth a 5th. And that's basically what Philadelphia is getting in return. I know we give him a 6th. We get a guard back. but it really is essentially for a fifth, and that's probably his market value. I will say
Sure.
this though, Josh. Let's be a little glass half full here. Former first round draft pick Kenyon Green, right?
Mm-hmm.
Former first round draft pick Mekhi Becton came in here, swapped positions, and Jeff Stoutland turned him into, I mean, one of the best right guards in the National Football League, who could still return.
Oh,
Maybe
for sure.
he does. Well,
Yeah.
but maybe Jeff Stoutland looked around the league. It's like, hey, who do you want to go make the next Mekhi Becton? He said, that guy, Kenyon Green. They said, well, we want to get rid of CJ Gardner-Johnson. How about we do a little switch here? They turned Green into, a Pro Bowl right guard this coming season, and Howie looks like a genius. But again, that's a lot of speculation for something that has a lot of steps in order to become true.
It is, but I like the optimism. I can appreciate it. You could insert basically anybody to Jeff Stoutland.
Sure.
So, but
Sure.
yes, if you go make that move, you
Sure.
know that the Stout believes in him, because you're not going to do this in any sort without multiple conversations there. So I'm anticipating there's going to be, very little bump down or degrade in terms of the offensive line this year compared to next year. Like, Stout is completely trustworthy. You make this move, okay, great. Go take advantage of it. Should be solid. It's just more so, did anybody see us going without CJ? And who does that become for a set? Because it's almost, in a sense, we're all playing this one out, but you felt, okay, Mekhi Becton most likely returning, could take a little bit, but they're going to gauge the market, see where that's at. Possibly with a guy like Will Fries and others signing contracts, maybe the guard market was too elevated there. Well, then you kind of shift, and you're like, well, we're not going to pay that amount of money, so now we do need to get a different game plan. But in a way, it's kind of like you trade, and did you fill a starter position, or did you just create one extra one for you now? Because you got to get the CJ Gardner-Johnson safety spot figured out. Unless Christian Parker and Vic Fangio feel so good about what they've seen in practices or just on tape to go, no, we can turn Sidney Brown into that guy, or no, we can make Lewis Cine that guy, or insert Tristan McCollum, played sparingly, had some moments that were good, had some moments that are not good at all. So I don't know. It's just one of those it's a head scratcher. I'll remain optimistic. Again, I will say I don't like the move at face value, but I will still remain optimistic because of what Howie's done. And this is a totally different makeup defensive team than it was in after 23. So Green Wingman, real quick, I'll let you get to that one. But this super chat, he said he did say he was going to make some unpopular moves. This is a reminder.
He did.
Be patient.
He did.
Be patient with him. He urged fans. Things are going to happen. Things are going to be done. Unconventional moves are going to take place.
This counts.
To have patience, to not get carried away. Harriet Haynes with a 5-bomb also similar, said there must be a plan with a question mark. Howie with a question mark. And then also said, Howie, please tell us there is a plan. He's got a plan. This is not on a whim.
He has a plan. It's just, part of the Eagles' big success, especially in the playoffs, particularly in the playoffs, the Super Bowl, was the play from the defense, right? The defense played absolutely lights out. And the one problem that Philadelphia has now is this is not the same returning defense. There was a real chance that Philadelphia was going to bring back Isaiah Rodgers, obviously not trade CJ Gardner-Johnson, and then they just add a pass rusher at some point, Azeez Ojulari, or a defensive end in the draft, and it looks very similar to last season. Now you do have 3 holes. You need an edge rusher to replace Josh Sweat. We love Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt. They need another one. You absolutely need another cornerback, just because Keely Ringo, much like Sidney Brown, is a question mark. 3rd-round draft pick, hasn't played a lot. Can he actually be a starter for 18 games and cover the best receivers in the National Football League? Unclear. And I need a safety. Because again, what is Sidney Brown? Sidney Brown has been a very good special teamer who played as a rookie, tore his, ACL, and then since then, we haven't really seen. We don't really know. And so Howie has got to plug 3 big holes in this defense to not just keep it good, because the defense as it is right now with Sidney Brown and Keely Ringo is still a good defense. It's a top 10 defense for sure. But I think Philadelphia is going to want to keep this in the top 5 range, because repeating with the Birds' upcoming first-place schedule is going to be hard as it is, and they got to make sure they get this roster, especially defensively, back to being a top 5 defense instead of a top 10 or a top 12 as it currently stands after this trade.
Yeah, you got too much potential with this group to just kind of, I don't know, mess around with it, or we'll take a piece away from here, but Fangio's a mastermind, so he'll be able to figure this thing out. Like there's all sorts of levels of conversations that took place for this. Even if it's a little bit of an adjustment or a change of plans from the initial one, it's not we're trading your starting safety unless, Vic Fangio's like, all right, that's cool. We're good with it. Let's move forward. So there's all sorts of conversations, and we may never get those. But I'm still choosing to believe they're going to be okay, whether it is another free agent they have in mind, whether it's a guy internally they really feel strongly about. Because, I mean, heck, I was certainly one of those people. Nakobe Dean, when Zach Bond and Nakobe, you're like, I did feel like Zach Bond would because of Vic Fangio and his statement there. You start watching things of Zach Bond, but for Nakobe, we had seen some stuff like, I don't know if that's the answer, right? Like we said, Devin White, maybe hopefully he could be there. Why is he not getting an opportunity? They proved us wrong. They saw something with Nakobe. They were able to progress. He had significant strides and played out of his mind. Incredible. So maybe it's the same sort, right? Whoever it is, if it's an internal player that they feel good about, that's fine. You never know until those players are thrust into the playing position and get those reps. We would have known the same thing about Nolan Smith, and we can go down the line of so many other young players. It's just face value when you had a guy like that outside looking in, sure, CJ could be a distraction at times in the locker room, I'm sure, and I don't know what it's like necessarily being a teammate there, but on the field, everyone's like, there you go. That is the mentality that we were missing from the defense. And then to trade it away, okay, well, hopefully somebody else can pick up the slack there. Who will that be? Where's the voice going to come from? But they are Super Bowl champs, so I also understand the other side of that. Going, but they're battle tested now. They have more of that mentality naturally. It changes a lot of things, and definitely the shakeup of the defense that hardly anybody saw coming. Chaotic Green with a 5 said the compensation doesn't even make sense, let alone getting rid of a ball hawk safety. Lots of individuals sharing that same sentiment I'm seeing on the chat. That is understandable. DJ Wildchild with a 2. Didn't see a comment there, but we appreciate the support. Rich with a 2. Asante Samuel Jr. What are y'all thinking?
Goodness gracious. If I had $1 for every time someone said Asante Samuel Jr., holy cow, I would be like on an island right now. Asante Samuel Jr. is expensive, right? He's an expensive free agent. And does it seem like Philadelphia is spending big so far in free agency? That doesn't seem to be the case. So maybe that's the case, but doesn't seem like they're really trying to empty the bank right now this offseason, which is so crazy too, just because it shows you how little you can actually trust rumors heading into free agency. Because 2 weeks ago, we had Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, Diana Rossini of The Athletic, and people will say they're not, trustworthy. They're a lot more trustworthy than some people on Twitter, right? They talk to
for
people.
Sure.
And all we heard was the Eagles are really looking at the edge rusher spot. Myles Garrett, keep an eye on it here. Philadelphia looking to make a big move. That turned out to not be true at all, at least so far, right? And so the idea of Asante Samuel Jr. or any of these other younger players who you would give a 4-year deal to, like Josh Sweat got, or like, some of the other big-name free agents have gotten the past couple of days, doesn't seem to be in the cards right now for Philadelphia. And I also think Darius Slay is not coming back, by the way. This whole... I know he's technically under contract for, I think it's one more day, and then technically can be released with the post-June 1st cut. He's not coming back, even with Gardner-Johnson gone. So it's a big time changing the guard right now in the Spurs defense, and the youngest defense in the NFL, Josh, we said it yesterday, it's even more so today, is about to get a whole lot younger.
Yeah. They're crazy amount of youth, not paying a whole lot, paying a ton for the offense, so you have to balance it out, I suppose. But, this one is just youth in general. I'm going to get to the other super chats as well. I'll just throw this one up here for Andrew for a second because of the Slay and that situation. The comment said, could this point to a return of Slay, with Slay to Pittsburgh not confirmed? But look, I mean, nothing is impossible. But at the same time, the fact that we've had the rumors of reports and then confirmation of that to the Steelers, it feels like it was more of a preemptive, announced it too early because Slay's technically on the Eagles until Wednesday because of the post-June 1 designation and all that it's like, well, hang on, let's not let that get out there just yet. And then all of a sudden we get the confirmation on Wednesday. Who knows, though? We've seen crazier things happen. It just feels like he is going to be on his way out. I mean, he wants the cash. The Eagles, like you said, they're not paying top dollar for a lot of people. I mean, heck, they could have. The other one to me, and this is getting off on a different topic because I'm going to get back to the super chats, but the other one to me is like Oren Burks. You could have had him for $5 million, 2 years, $5 million. I mean, that's nothing. You want your Super Bowl winning linebacker tandem just in case Nakobe can't return quickly, and Ben Van Sumeren is not your answer, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has not played significant snap. I know you got to get those guys on the field, so it's the double-edged sword, at what point, but how many young guys do you throw out there at once to say, hey, go figure this out, go get this role, versus you have a Super Bowl proven winning tandem of linebackers out there. But
well, and this whole plan that we keep talking about that Howie clearly has might not be really executed on in 2024. This could all be to make sure that the core of the Philadelphia Eagles is here for the long run. And that core is going to include Jalen Carter's contract maybe next year, right? They could really try and get Jalen Carter signed a lot earlier than people would want, and that would save them money in the long term, but it's going to be north of, 30 to 35 to $40 million, right? And the same thing goes for making sure some of the other young players that they think are going to be really good eventually, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, obviously Reed Blankenship could use another contract in the next couple of years, maybe even after the end of this year, honestly. So this whole plan we keep talking about might not be a 5-step plan today, tomorrow, and Thursday. It might be a 5-step plan where they add something in this week, something small, maybe an edge rusher, right? A cheap edge rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, draft picks in April, and then it's executed on further down the line. That way they can go ahead and keep the core of the Philadelphia Eagles here for the long run because they feel very strongly about Jalen Carter and Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and Nolan Smith and, Cam Jurgens, who still needs a contract extension, right? So it could take a while to actually see this, but, the Carson Wentz trade took a long time to see, it turned into A.J. Brown, and then it turned into Jalen Carter, and then it turned into Cooper DeJean.
You got all the guys.
It took a while, right? So, possibility.
We don't win a Super Bowl without Carson Wentz, so let's just remember that. T. Grant with a 2, who was I guess multiple Super Bowls in that. Who was a weaker starter on the D, in your opinion, in the red zone? I'm assuming that this is kind of teeing it up for a CJ Gardner-Johnson, but he definitely, he gave up a lot of touchdowns. He was not the strongest defensive player, especially when it comes to coverage. So, just X's and O's. You look at it, it's not a significant, right? I don't know. It's not like a massive loss as if you're losing a Zach Bond, if you're losing a Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean in terms of production. Like CJ had some good games and he had some awful games, so it was hit or miss there. But it's more so as we're saying, kind of that vibe, the morale, the character of the team, the swag, and maybe that's overblown. Maybe I'm making it out to be too big of a deal. Maybe we make it out to be too big of a deal sometimes. But there's still elements that we all can think back to that it was not the same fight in the team from a couple years ago. Now maybe they don't need that. Howie and the other guys, Fangio, Christian Parker, all those others on the sideline going like, no, these guys got it. Even without CJ, they're good.
Yeah.
And so maybe he says, all right, fine, we're moving on, because there were enough lapses in coverage that you say, well, we can shore that up. Like we'll be able to get someone that could be as serviceable on the football field. And then, if you need to figure out something out with as far as leader or bringing a little extra, laying the wood on somebody, like you could do something else. I don't know. But to me, that I would say, coverage in the red zone. CJ was probably your weakest coverage. In terms of who that would be.
Yeah, but he did get better towards the end of the year. CJ
he for
was
sure did.
Really rough in that in that Bucks game, and by the end of the year, he was pretty locked down.
Yeah, that's true. He did get better, but still, out of all the ones that you could, Q locked down, Coop. It's not even as much maybe like CJ being bad. It's just the fact that so many guys are good. It just makes him towards the lower part of it. I don't know. Patrick with a 2, re-signing Slay will leave a bitter taste with me. That's if that happens. Still don't think
it does.
will, but that see, that'll be a lot of like backtracking as well, because the whole comment had been, hey, CJ, and I said this too. I was like, look, CJ's on your roster. He's not going anywhere. So maybe I jinxed it. And then Slay is not on your roster. You have to get him. So like, just let's keep them separated. Let's not do that. It's not worth it. The drama. Now that CJ's out, I suppose if you were going to make that move, it would make some more sense. But I don't think that either one. Blake with a 2. Let's go, Blake. Blake's got that signed Jalix Hunt jersey. Losing CJ is a punch in the nuts. There you go. Characterize it right there.
There you go.
Just a little shot. Maybe to the defense. I think we're going to be okay. I don't like the move, as I said, but I think we'll be okay. Trust in the process. It's only March 11th. It's for people that are, we have a long, long way to go.
Yeah.
Plenty of acquisitions, other players. Michael Manigo with a 5 says no guaranteed money left on the CJ and would have had to pay Reed, CJ Carter, and if we did that, it would mean giving up on Brown. I guess AJ. Or Sidney. No, Sidney Brown, of course. Yes.
Sidney Brown, yeah, not AJ. Yeah. I do think the enforcer now is Jalen Carter. I think that was very clear this past season that Jalen Carter can be a big-time enforcer. I think back to Slay's fight with Darnell Washington in the end zone against the Steelers. The first guy there was Jalen Carter, and he's kind of the cleanup guy. So I think the swagger, they have plenty of ability to have swagger. I think Bond has got a lot of secret swagger as well. But, it took a hit. It took a hit.
Yeah. And we'll watch the mic'd up, so there's only little tiny glimpses that they'll give us. So we don't know everything on there, and maybe he just got old. I don't know. But to say that they can do this or can't do that because they'd have to get rid of this player, it's all hypotheticals. But seeing that the way that Howie is able to structure cap contracts and everything else, yes, I know that there's always a 40 chess and there's so many different moves ahead. This to me does not feel like, hey, let's get rid of him now so that we save money for a contract a year, 2, 3 years down the road.
Doesn't seem like it.
This is one of those that there's something that maybe we're not being fully told, and they were already leaning towards, hey, look, we're going to explore options, and if it doesn't happen, then maybe we make it work, but let's see if we can move on from CJ. Whether it was something that the team's done with, the message, the tone, tired of just the drama that comes up with it, but it doesn't feel like just, hey, we need to make some cap space, because Howie's got lots of other ways to get that done. Permafrost with a 2. Yes, reminding Kenyon Green had a 38 PFF score. Horrid move. For those that are unsure, I'll go ahead and give you a graphic, which will make you feel even worse. But we're still optimistic. I will give you that. Kenyon Green, Thomas did mention some of these things or similarities, but here's some others for you. PFF grades, 38.6 overall, 131 out of 135, 39.7 pass blocking, 107 out of 135, and 44.6 run blocking, 131 out of 135. So it can't get much worse. I mean, the positive spin, the silver lining, it can't be much worse. He should improve. But then, even on that last phrase there from the sleeper tweet, Jeff Stoutland, work your magic. That is what we're all hoping for. I don't care who you are. If you have the physical tools, because as you said, 10, 15 minutes ago, Thomas, like Mekhi Becton was a wash. Like everybody's like, nah, give up on that bum. Like he can't do it. He can't block. He's got penalties. He's just not going to happen, especially the tackle role. Go to the Eagles, change roles. Now, it's not to say that, okay, you try to move Kenyon to a different position, but if you get the right coaching, the right technique, kind of solve things. He was a former first rounder for a reason. Not all of them pay out. I think I saw someone mention Andre Dillard and once he left, but I think it's going to be okay. It is fair, though, the initial reaction of, oh my gosh, we got this guy who's not a proven guard and played terrible and traded away CJ. Let's just give it some time. Howie warned about that. Let's give him some time to work things out. Ray with a 2. We want rookie contracts. Too many people to pay. That's true. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that plays a factor, but I just keep saying they have cap space right now. If they really wanted to make a move, then it's not like they're negative $7 million in cap space. Like the Atlanta Falcons can't make any moves. They have to cut people because they have no money. Philadelphia does have money if they wanted to do something. Yeah. There's a lot of other teams in much worse situation. Ryan with the question that a lot of us may have been asking. Why the hell couldn't it have been effing Huff instead of CJ Gardner-Johnson?
Because no one wants him. Because no one wants him. Yeah. Nobody
wants him. You wouldn't have gotten Kenyon Green for that one. No matter how you feel about Kenyon Green, you wouldn't have gotten much at all for Huff. No offense. He's welcome to come on the show if he wants to. I highly doubt it after all that we've said. But Big Dom with a 2. Let's see. Thomas, this is back to Dillard. But Thomas, what happened to Dillard? Can't fix them all. So, again, not that every one of them work out, but
that's totally true. I mean, Howie does not bat 1,000. I said that 20 minutes ago. So, but we don't know yet. And that's the thing. Maybe Kenyon Green turns into, this great right guard. He actually is a guard, though. That was the big swap for Mekhi Becton, was not a guard, right? And so make a big move over from tackle to guard. Could he do it? I don't know. A lot of work during training camp. He was able to do it. Kenyon Green at least has the whole guard, outfit, right? He's worn it throughout his entire career, as young as it is. And so maybe an easier transition there, but we don't know. Honestly, we don't know.
Yeah. Eric Mack with a 2. Remember, this is how we do it. Just wait, he's cooking. So see, there's a little optimism. We don't know. There's something there. It's not all. Just Rob with the 2. Wonder if the Slay CJ beef influenced the decision. Yep, that's a lot of thought and consideration. But it depends on if Slay's coming back. Like if he's not returning, do you got to make a move just because you're like, yeah, well, they've been this drama and all this other stuff? Maybe you say that's enough. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
You just move on. You got the Super Bowl. Job accomplished of sorts. Got enough of your return, and you just move on from it. I'm not really sure there. Lakers squad with a 2. Definitely a bigger move coming. Who's available? Well, we went through a couple of those earlier, but
yeah,
that's the question. Like the signs, the tea leaves have shown, or at least up to this point, that there's not necessarily a much bigger move coming. Howie could always surprise somebody, but it does. It feels like he's going to kind of go with just some like stopgaps and plug the holes. Maybe some mid-tier guys, nothing of a major move. I would consider, like this is kind of your major move, like trading Kenny Pickett, trading CJ Gardner. Those are your big major moves.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's we're going to go sign somebody. If you wanted to shake something up, you could have done that before trading CJ Gardner-Johnson. I don't know. Tim Poley with a 5. Is it possible this was, here's another one. Again, understand the thought and thinking. Is it possible this was a move to get Slay back? Seeing a lot of reports that Slay, the Steelers, isn't a done deal.
I thought you were going to say Asante Samuel Jr. I was about to throw my computer, but no, it's.
I don't think I have
the
one
Slay
of those.
thing. The Slay thing's weird. I have no idea. No clue.
Yeah.
But also, Milton Williams was a Panther for like 2 hours yesterday, and then he wasn't. So we're waiting on stuff. I mean, stuff's going to break, right? We're going to have more lives today, I'm sure. So stuff's going to keep breaking.
Yeah.
I would hit the notification bell if I were you.
Make sure to sub, hit the notifications. All good to go there. Let's see. Where's the other? G. Wesley with a 5. Goddard and 32 overall to the Patriots for what? Okay, somebody's got the automatic force trades. For the 4th overall, draft Abdul Carter and take a safety in the 2nd. Sure, yeah. In whatever world you're living in, absolutely. I'll have whatever you're smoking or drinking, but.
Are we gonna take over the Patriots front office and hold it for ransom? Right?
Oh my gosh!
What's the plan there?
They owe us for Milton Williams, I suppose. You go ahead and say that. That's a forced trade, if I've ever seen one. 2 from Elbert. Deja vu. Isn't this what happened after the first Super Bowl?
I mean, kind of. This is very similar to that offseason, although Philadelphia did make moves in that offseason. Like they didn't sign people, and that's been the craziest thing so far. They haven't signed anybody. So, yeah, I mean, we're still waiting.
Content with their guys.
Very much so.
I mean, at least they got Zach Bond. If he didn't end up technically making it to that, but you could make the argument, the case, and say, hey, the Eagles signed the best free agent available, and that was their own guy, and bringing him back in Zach Bond. So. At least it's a win from that point. But Ryan with a 5, appreciate that, dude, said, I hate this move. I am very afraid that we are about to repeat 2023 all over again. Still, though, in Howie would trust. So a little tempered expectations. Cautiously optimistic, I believe, if I'm reading between the lines there. That's about where I'm at. I don't like the move. I've said it multiple times. I don't like the move, but Howie's earned more than enough to trust. And it could be a total miss. But at the end of the day, if Sidney Brown balls out, or if Lewis Seen, or you draft somebody, you sign, and this defense is a top 5 defense, and you go back to the Super Bowl, like no one's gonna think of it. No one will think about this until you can go back and say, hey, you remember how everybody's kind of freaking out on March 11th, and CJ Gardner-Johnson got traded. This defense is going to be the same one. Well, look what happened. A little bit different. I think it'll be all right. Steven, the 10 bomb. Let's go, Steven. Said, it's surprising, but Sidney Brown is younger, faster, need more experience, and cheaper. We can draft Nicholas Emenwari, South Carolina, blew up the combine, or Malachi Starks at the 32nd pick.
Sounds good to me, but there's no guarantee that they're going to be there, right? There's no guarantee. So that's the hard part of needing to fill positions in the draft versus taking best available.
Mm-hmm. If we get Emenwari, I'll be, man.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good to me.
Stoked. I mean, either option's good, but like, you got like a dude he's like a linebacker who can play versatility like a safety, but runs like a corner, and Yeah, that dude's just insane. I doubt he's available, but yeah, we can hope. We didn't think Jalen Carter would be available. We didn't think Quinyon Mitchell would be available. Long way to go from the draft, but we'll see. Ben with the 2, any safeties in the draft that we go for now? See, that's a good question follow up because you just got a couple names. Those are two that we'd absolutely take. I don't know if they're going to be available. But we will obviously, as we get a little closer to the draft, because we're still trying to figure out where things are at in free agency. How do we come out of free agency? We've just barely begun this. Haven't even officially hit free agent, signing day, which would be tomorrow. But we'll have more on potential guys to go after. A couple very early names though, Emma Warry and Malachi Starks. So those are couple that could be thrown out there. We'll eventually get into like your mid rounds if you're going to look at someone like that. Zach with a 5. I was okay with losing most guys this offseason, but losing Rodgers first, now CJ, and more than likely Becton, it's getting scary now.
It's not scary. I mean, the core is still there, right? They're still going to be favorites in the NFC, but got to hope young guys step up. Last year they did, right? Oren Burks, Zach Bond, Kobe Dean, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper Kupp, or Cooper DeJean. They all stepped up, so just need that again.
Yes. And we got faith in them, I mean, I know it happens this way almost with every move. It seems like there's something that happens, and it's an extreme to one way that it's like, oh my gosh, this is the game changer, or the other way, this is the negative game changer, and it's going to affect it so much. But more often than not, there's a little bit more of a middle ground, and there's so much more time to go of development for all sorts of places. So yeah, I get the concern, but I think that we can pump the brakes just a bit. Eagles chatter with a 5. That outburst by CJ cost him, so going with the belief of the outburst there. We just won a Super Bowl, and he is out here downing and beefing with his teammates. Yeah, I mean, maybe.
There have been tweets saying from Eagles insiders saying this is strictly financial. So believe that, don't believe it. They could easily be told to say that, but that's what they're saying. So
interesting. Okay. Let's see. I think and CJ did post a big thank you Philly to the fans and everything else there. So you feel like this might have been. I don't know. This could have been like known for a little bit longer, right? Like I don't know. Unless just
maybe
CJ's camp could have put something together for
easily
quickly, but
easily.
Interesting. Yeah. Here's the. I don't have Joe Dumas's report, but the WIP kind of reposting. But there you go. The Eagles' decision to trade solely for financial reasons. Sure.
Sounds like something the Eagles would tell them to say. So,
Why else are they having a Saquon Barkley press conference at the start of legal tampering? Other moves like that.
Interesting.
They do things intentional at times. We'll see. Permafrost with a 5. 5 more. Appreciate that. Says 2 things. Lewis Sane is better than people realize. He was a first-round pick 2 years ago. Second, we still need a tight end. Goddard is going to be gone.
That'll be a fun one to hop on a live when they trade Dallas Goedert, later today or tomorrow. So we'll be ready for that. I don't know if Sane is that good. He would not have been a practice squad signing if he actually was. Now things can change, but I don't have a lot of hope in him being this safety savior. My hope is in Sidney Brown right now.
Yeah, I would agree. It'd be great. Not that it's impossible. He kind of comes out of nowhere. Not that he was drafted high and had an opportunity, has some potential in his game. But Philly Dogs, never know. Could be something there. But yeah, I think it's definitely Sidney Brown is where you start. CB on that point. As far as tight end goes, who knows? Goddard could be here. He might get traded. The Eagles apparently want a 4th-round pick. We all want a lot of stuff, but not necessarily mean they're going to get it. We'll see, though. Mo Cheeks with 5. I crapped my pants when I seen that trade. Well, that's appropriate for Mo Cheeks.
Pretty surprising. Pretty surprising.
Didn't really see that one coming. I didn't know that this thing works where you cross your arms. It does the little emoji.
Oh,
thumbs down.
I didn't know that
I
either.
can't ever get mine to work. But yeah, I guess whenever
That's
you
how I
cross
feel.
your arms, it did the thumbs down. Dylan with a 5. running through more of these super chats. We appreciate you guys. So in the draft rounds 1 through 3, are we going edge, safety, corner, defensive tackle? Do we sacrifice one of those for tight end now? I don't like having another hole to fill.
Probably so.
Yeah,
I would think so.
Yeah, I again, Howie's got a plan here, so I assume that he's either going to try to shore up as best he can, or it's already, hey, they believe in Sidney Brown, which is also a totally realistic scenario. But it feels like it would be either one, like safety and or tight end. So either you figure out something with Goddard, you make a trade happen, or they're going to draft somebody. But if that's the case, then I think that they shore it up with a safety spot and maybe get a free agent, or again, like we say, they just say, you know what, Sidney Brown is the guy. Lewis Cine has some potential. Tristan McCollum, we'll see. And you feel good about that to move forward. I wouldn't expect it to be all of those because usually you're going to get those premium picks with a defensive lineman, I would think is first. And then, insert your possibility of going for like offensive line, add some depth there, lanes replacement, as we talked about, like at what point do they draft that person? And then one of those two, I couldn't see them going with both, but maybe it does. You got lots of draft picks at round 5, so you trade up and get a few others. Shaq with a 2, Malachi Stark. See, there you go. See, there's another one in terms of safeties. If you're going to look at guys, go check out the tape. There's not a impossible way to add some more guys. It's music. Let's see if there we go. It's music with a 2. Nobody wants Hamlin. Oh. Get the F out of here.
Seen that a lot in the chat.
No dynasty.
I've seen that a lot in the chat. Okay. Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
It's a very strong take on nobody wants Hamlin. It's just a possibility. You throw a random name out there because people are like, hey, who should? Here you go. Here's a possibility. There's lots of those out there. It's not a home run hit, but at this point, you're not really trading and then let's hit a home run with a safety spot because you just traded away your starter. Eagle Chatter with a 2. This is Reed's defense now. Okay, I mean,
I don't think it wasn't, but I think that he's in charge at least on the backside, not up front, but on the backside.
Yeah, but you got levels to it, so that's a good thing. Zach Bond, linebackers, Jalen Carter, defensive line, Reed Blankenship. You're in a good spot. Francisco. Yep. That's fun to say. The 10 Bomb says, does this mean Howie might want to trade for a guy like Trey Hendrickson and trust the front D to handle most of the pressure?
This does not scream Trey Hendrickson trade. I'd be very happy with the Trey Hendrickson trade. 17.5 sacks the past 2 seasons. But this everything Philly's done the past 2 days does not scream that they're going to pay Trey Hendrickson $40 million a year. So I would say no, sadly.
Yeah. I would agree. It doesn't seem like that's one of those moves. It already felt that way, but just the more that this plays out, he's definitely not going to go in that direction. Brian with a 2. This makes me think Slay's CJ slight was cryptic.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Done with the locker. Who knows?
Yep.
There's always so many layers and levels to this thing of like, where does it play out and who says what? Why are they going on the podcast and, like dissing somebody or just not? But you never know. There's so many other things behind the scenes that we don't get information on. Eagles Chatter with the 2. Slay told y'all this is Reed's defense. Again, that he did. I don't think that, a lot of people were like super surprised as far as like that information alone was not super surprising to me. It was more surprising of like how he said it and referenced it, and then to not say CJ, and then CJ blew it out of proportion and took that, and then Slay also said other things towards Jalen and Smitty, and it's a lot of distractions ultimately. Like Jacob here says with a 5, all these players that are divas are too hood. They're always the best players and take us to Super Bowls. T.O. was a distraction, but took us far. Not all of them are like that. You could make an argument, I suppose, but not all of them are like that. There's a lot that don't have to be distractions. I think that's the blessing of some of these other guys too. The guys that just go out there and work, constant professional, aren't going to make noise really too much. You got a lot of those. Smitty, I think, is the first one, like, immediately for me. It's like Smitty plays ball, and that's it, man. He's just about business, and you're not really going to get that drama from him. I can appreciate that. But not all players have that same type of mindset.
Yeah.
Eagles baby with a 5, injured guard with 1 year left for a swagger of your defense on a 2-year affordable deal, saved $900,000. You don't have, you have Steen and Keegan. Don't like this at all.
Forgot about Trevor Keegan, and yeah, the Kenyon Green deal expires, after the season. So it's not like you're getting a rookie contract there. So you do for a year, but yeah, I like Trevor Keegan, but Philly didn't really even consider him at all this past year. So very clearly a work in progress.
Yeah. Big Dom Shiano with a 2 more says Becton actually had talent. He had a freak rookie year. So yes, I mean, at the same time, if you make this trade, it's enough to say that Jeff Stoutland believes in Kenyon Green. Whether we do, whether anybody else does, whether you look at the analytics and say he's not played really well, Jeff Stoutland believes enough in him to say, hey, it's probably worth let's get rid of CJ. Let's move on from it. We can make this guy into something. It'll be of value. As crazy as that might sound,
I hope so.
We'll see if it pans out. Let's see. I think that's Black Trey, I believe, with a 200, and I don't know what that KES. I would have to look that up. We appreciate the support, though. Heck yeah. I don't know what that is in terms of the
Kenyon Shillings. Kenyon Shillings.
Kenyon Shillings. I don't know if we had Kenyon Shillings on the stream before. Let's go. Appreciate that, man. What's the next move? And this is big fan. Keep it up. Thank you.
I don't know what the next move is, honestly. Don't know. They are going to sign somebody, though. So
at some point.
Got to be somebody.
Yeah. At some point. We'll see. I was going to say Mekhi Becton was my guess before, but now with this, I don't know. Throw out some random Azeez Ojulari. That's what I'd like to see.
There you go.
But I don't think that's going to happen either. But let's just put that one out there. Ryan with a 5, running through these other super chats. Appreciate you guys. I know we're got several of these, but trying to get to him. Ryan with a 5. Maybe the thought was if it wasn't Slay, he was yammering on about it would be another teammate. It's time for him to go. Several takes of that sense. You got the distractions, as a lot of people would say. Brandon with a 5 says, Lord Brunson said he called CJ about the Slay stuff this week, said he wasn't returning the Eagles' calls about resolving the Slay issue. Maybe character.
Maybe. I hadn't seen that, but maybe.
I have no idea. I have no idea to confirm, but I mean, again, distractions, everything else there. If it's not worth it or they can't move beyond it, maybe it is just hey, we're going to part ways. Elbert with a 2. I'm checking out until June. No need to panic.
No need to check out. We still have the draft, right?
Yeah.
No need to check out.
Yeah. Maybe just check out on panicking. Like don't freak out. Don't get overblown. But there's still lots of pieces and acquisitions and moves that'll be done. So can't miss out on that. J Chaotix, I believe, with a 5. I'm baffled by this. This reads more as the team really likes the potential of Brown and that it is a risk based on what we've seen.
It is a risk. That is for sure. 100% a risk.
Lots of unknowns. Aiden with the 1. Thanks for that. Also Cole with the 5. Didn't get either comments, but we do appreciate the support. I will say the one thing briefly on J Chaotix about the risk. I mean, ultimately, they're all risks for every single team. Like, that's what free agency is. You're hoping, you're betting on a player who played previously, unless you're re-signing a guy to your own team, but you're betting on a player that played previously for a different team, probably a different scheme, lots of other different players around them. So it's a complete gamble. Now, and then you also figure out the market rate of say, okay, how much is this person worth? Well, it's whatever the market dictates, and with the gambling and the bidding wars that you get in. So, although this is not we're trying to go and outbid a team for CJ or anything like that, you're moving on from him. But every team is making a gamble. The Eagles just feel like this is the right one to make, and I would say Howie's at least more often than not correct, but he's not. No one's batting 1,000 like Thomas said earlier.
Yeah.
Ja'Cory with a 2. What do you think about Isaiah Simmons? I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Nope.
Definitely not.
We've talked about, it feels like for the last 2 years, we've talked about Isaiah Simmons. And, Yeah, I like his game. I like the versatility. I think he could be successful, but in terms of like, is anything like that going to happen or a big trade? No. These are the moves. These are the trades and moves that you're getting from Howie Roseman for Kenny Pickett, that trade, and CJ GJ. Telly the Bird with a 5. What's up? Appreciate the support. Shout out to the K-Lot. Seeing there. I'm heartbroken. Howie must have gotten hit hard. Here's another. Howie must have gotten hit hard with that beer. So who will be the locker room guy for the defense with CJ GJ gone?
Bond, Jalen Carter. There's still Nolan. There's still plenty.
Oh yeah, they'll be all right. We got the Philly dogs. They'll be fine. Get that chemistry and morale. I think they'll be all right. Why care with a 5? Odds either Seen or Brown starting, or are we signing or drafting someone? And who do you think it could likely be?
Got to watch the last hour and a half of this live stream. We got a lot of predictions there.
Yeah. You could go back through and say, I'm going to just real quickly, I'll say it again for it. Sidney Brown is who I think we're both thinking that's the direction that they would go in. And then we'll see if Seen turns out to be great. That's gravy. That's awesome. It also wouldn't be surprising. It's like, hey, he just keeps being practice squad. And I think they'll still draft someone because, it never hurts to get some depth there. So even if it's a later pick, someone to potentially pan out. S. Rice with a 2. Thanks for that. 2 from TB. CJ equaled culture. Hate this move. Similar stance from a lot of people. I know the thought and the process there. I won't say trust the process, but trust Howie. He knows what he's doing. I think it's going to be okay. I'm going to just caution of that. We've seen a lot of moves.
100%.
Not to this magnitude, but
100%.
Most of the time we can be all right. Not all of them. Most of the time. Ryan with a 10 bomb says there is going to be attrition between any 2 years for a team. How many of our 5th, 4th, and 5th round picks do you think we'll use to find gems? This draft is deep in those rounds. See, that's a good point. Ryan brings up a good point. We said they have 4 5th round picks in this year's draft. Howie cooks with multiple draft picks as is for every time that he has, hey, he's going to move up, he's going to move back, get more than all of a sudden trade back up to get a player or trade outside of the draft. You think about a DeAndre Swift trade and how that turned out. So, there's so many different outs. Howie has a ton of different. This is not we made this trade, now we can only go in this direct. There's so many different things that they can do with that. So just, I'm cautious. I agree with you, though. There's a lot of opportunities in this draft in particular with that much capital. Green Wingman with a 2. Slay is still under contract until 4 p.m. tomorrow. That is correct. Nothing 100%. And really, all free agents are officially under contract. They haven't signed anything until tomorrow. But then that'll, start taking place. Most of the deals will be as they reported, but there might be 1 or 2 that all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, no, actually they're not going to be going to so-and-so team. Shaq with a 2. I'd be extremely shocked if Howie stays at 32. I would as well. I think we talked about that in the stream yesterday, actually, about where they would bounce around possibilities there. Real Bray Music with a 10 said, nah, y'all don't understand how he is cooking up right now. Here's some positivity. He's going to send all our best players. Well, this is maybe a little bit ironic or weird thinking to it, but it's optimism. He's going to send all of our best players to each team, but in small writing on each contract it says, but we get them back and keep all the rewards. So I thought it was like full-blown optimism, but like being realistic. But Howie's trying to fleece teams at times. I don't know if this ends up being one of those where it's just like a necessary evil that you had to move on and you make the best of it, but we'll see.
I got a butt in here. I got to run. I got to get to a meeting that I have in 3 minutes. So Josh can keep going, but I got to run, guys.
You're good. We've
Plenty of thoughts.
So.
You know my thoughts. Watch later on. So more things break. I'll be good to go. But I got to get on this meeting in 2 minutes. So
no, you're good.
See you guys.
Sweet. All right, I'll run through more of these super chats again. For people, I'll actually put this on the screen for people that are joining a little bit late or had not officially heard the news. You've seen the thumbnail and the title and everything else by now, but again, just a little refresher. Thomas's box is empty now because he had to jump off. But Eagles sent CJ Gardner-Johnson to the Texans for first round Kenyon Green, and a 2026 fifth for CJ, and a 2026 sixth. So a little pick swap there. Eagles get the fifth. Where's that other one? Here we go. Frank from Philly. That beer, this is like the 7th take, I believe. The screen's actually here in the way. There we go. Got that one fixed. The beer messed up Howie's head. Lots of takes on that one. I'm sure by now he's seen that, or he's definitely going to at some point. He's going to say, oh yeah, people are, no matter the hesitation, the warning, everything else there. John with the 2, Hope Lewis seen as a dog. Well, he's a Philly dog, but yeah, hopefully he ends up really panning out. That would be like a huge, I mean, can you imagine you get him that way, he turns out to be a stud, and you don't have maybe as much of the drama. Compensation-wise, you're okay. CJ Deacon with a 5. Do y'all think if Malachi Starks falls into late 20s, we trade up for him to compete with Sidney Brown? Yeah, if he fell to that point, I think that you're definitely looking at a potential for trade up because of all the draft picks that you have and potential need or opportunity. I mean, Howie's always looked at like if there's a guy who's, worth trading up for like that. So, yeah, I could certainly see that happening. I'll move this one over here since Thomas had to jump. Let's see. Ascend Sports Academy with a 2. Appreciate that. Says, anyone check Howie? I don't know how many times, which they're all great, but if I had, every single one of those, we've had how many, like 20 takes on check on Howie for the concussions for the beer. Oh, I would love it. I'm sure that's not the only one too. I'm just slowly getting through these super chats, so I'm sure there's a couple others out there. 5 from Secret Sydney is terrible. He gave up the touchdown in the Super Bowl, rather hit someone than play coverage. I mean, it's incredibly early. He gave up the touchdown. He came in late. Were they too hyped because they were winning the Super Bowl and not locked in completely? Yes, it was some blown coverage. I think to go off of a couple plays, especially from last season. Yes, you could say that he played more snaps from his rookie year, but that to me doesn't really count as much because Fangio wasn't here and lots of guys on the defense. But with Fangio, he just had very limited playing time. So I would give it a little bit more before making it definitive one way or the other. Tyler with a 5. Possibility for getting Trey Hendrickson. Again, I would say no. Thomas said that kind of a little bit earlier. I was always not really feeling like it is, but you see the moves that the Eagles are making and trying to save cap space or figure out ways to free up some room, focusing more on their core and keeping the guys. I don't think that that's the move. Maybe it's more of like an edge in free agency that you can get that's like a mid-tier, but you're not really trading in my mind. You made a couple trades already to go in again like that. It would be... This one was shocking. That would be like ridiculous shocking. Real Brave Music with a 10. Actually got the same super chat, I think. Doubled it up. Okay. Well, we appreciate the support. I saw that a second ago. But yes, don't understand. How he's cooking up. Send the other players in small writing. We get him back and the rewards. Probably with Big Dom sending that message too, right? I mean, that's usually the way that it works. Franklin with a 2. Someone call Macho Harris. Tyler Butcher with a 2. I trust Howie, man, but I can't see the vision yet. That's probably about where I'm at. I trust him. I can't see the vision. It doesn't feel that great, but we are going to be okay because I'm trusting him. So, yeah, that's pretty accurate, I think, where I'm also feeling. Rich with a 2. Drafting a safety with unsure, I guess, question mark. What? You never know. Depends on who's available, Rich. Depends on at what point as well. Bob Paul with a 2, just tuned in. CJ gone again. I love the guy. What? I know that's a lot of our reaction. That was me whenever I first heard the news and texting Thomas like, all right, jump on a live. I don't know that this is legit. I've doubled, triple checked, making sure it's not a fake, Twitter account or anything like that. But Yeah, kind of wild. Now, here's an idea. The indigenous nerd with 2. Jalix Hunt back to safety. Okay. Obviously a joke, but he's got the experience from previously, right before he moved to the edge. So you want to move your 6'3", 250, 260-pound dude back there to play safety? Eagle Chatter with a 2, Quinion and Reed. Their defense with others. JR 215 with a 2, appreciate that. Philly Cali, confident in Howie, but hardly have any vets on D. Yeah, there's not a whole lot. Even guys that are older in their career, Zach Bond's got the 1 year of a start, but the fact that the defense played so well, they were the youngest or one of the youngest last season. They're going to be the youngest, at least as of right now, defense for this next coming season. But Vic Fangio's been able to turn things around, and they bought into it. So I don't know. I'm not as concerned about the vets. Maybe it's too much lost there, but I mean, even with Slay, I don't know. I feel confident. I think that they got the right coaches in place. They got the right core, and this group will stay locked in. There's not a concern from that side. Kinsu with a 5. A recap. I just got off work. Saw that CJ got traded, so I need a recap of what's been going on this week. Well, there you go. CJ got traded. Kenny Pickett got traded also to the Browns. Different trade, separate trade, but got Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a 5th-round pick. Josh Sweat gone to Arizona. Milton Williams to the Patriots signed. Isaiah Rodgers to Minnesota. Slay likely to the Steelers, but not official. So lots of moves. Mekhi Becton, nothing yet. Who knows? But with the move to trade for Kenyon Green and CJ Gardner-Johnson here, doesn't feel as likely. Justin with a 5. So now do you start Brown or draft a rookie and let training camp decide? Love what you guys do. Go Birds. Thanks for that, Justin. I would say they're probably leaning towards start Brown and then draft a rookie, or just keep the guys they have and battle out for camp. Personally, I like the idea of, was it CJ who said a second ago, if you've got some extra draft capital and you have a guy who's falling a little bit later into the first round, maybe you trade up and go get him. That wouldn't be the worst thing for a safety. I don't mind it. 2 from him, McGraw. F it, let's go get Darrelle Revis. Yeah, well, if we're missing out some vets and we need some people, that's not it's not quite the direction we're on. That might be a little too far-fetched out there. Too far away from the game. JR with 2, is Lewis Cine going to get a chance as well? I'm sure he will. You add him to the roster, you bring him over as some potential, so you got to imagine that he's going to get at least an opportunity to win out. Elbert with 2, big move is coming. That is why I'm not panicking. Okay. Maybe so. I'm not panicking, but I don't necessarily think that a big move is coming. Could be wrong. Notorious with a 5, calling it Malachi Starks or Nick Emawari. 1st-round pick next month. Safety just became a huge need. I trust in Howie. I do too. I think that he'll be all right. Whether it's in the draft, I don't necessarily think that it's going to be those 2. If I had to prediction, I would be less likely. I don't know exact percentage, but less likely that it's a draft pick of those, either one. But I trust Howie with a move there. John, again, hope that's seen as a dog. Real Brave Music. Are we signing or drafting right now? The answer is, there you go. The answer is yes. They're doing both. They're acquiring draft picks and they're working to potentially sign. So we'll see. Tom with the 5. I'd like to see Thomas do a deep dive show on what Asante Samuel Jr. deal could look like. That's an interesting idea. Relay that one over to Thomas as he had to jump early. Sid with a 2, maintain O-line is greater than defensive backs, protect Hurts and Saquon. Yeah, as long as, again, I'm trusting Jeff Stoutland, but as long as Kenyon Green can do that, and if they do end up moving from Mekhi Becton and Kenyon Green's that guy, sure. 5 from Strat. To me, this says they signed Big Becton long-term as Lane's eventual replacement. That would make me feel a little bit better. There's reports that it's still on the table, even with this move for Kenyon Green. Trying to see if we get any other updates here, but I'm not seeing anything at the moment. But yeah, still potentially on the table. And would be good. We'd certainly take that. CJ, with a 10, I don't know, we can only lose so much talent from last season and expect to compete, waiting for more to this trade, but not feeling great about it right now. Horrid value, in my opinion. I get it. Yeah, trying to make sense of it. As I said, whenever we first hopped on and maintained, I don't like it, but I'm trusting Howie. And there's still going to be, I believe it's like we lost one because it was like 18, I think. It was 17 or 18. Now it's like 16 or 17. But still 16 or 17 starters out of the 22 that started in the Super Bowl. So that's got to mean something. That's a decent amount of your talent still returning. I know we've lost some. They were always going to do that, but there's guys waiting in the wings. There's also some other signings that'll potentially happen, maybe more of that mid-level, and you got the draft. So I think we'll be all right. Just got to be patient, as Howie said. Everett with a 5. As a player, don't take shots at our front office or GM. He tweeted, "Last vet that replaced me, help y'all get to the door in the divisional round, and then traded." It very well could have been. Yeah, I mean, maybe it was the front office that said, if it was Howie, or it could have been Jeffrey Lurie, could have been someone else in the building, being like, "Nope, that's it. I've had enough. We put up with it too much. We won a Super Bowl. Move on. Be done with it." Who knows? Blake, 10 more. Appreciate that, man. Said, Pickett going from winning the Super Bowl to the dumpster fire Browns. LOL. We just sent him to career hell. I mean, at least he's getting to play. But yeah, you get your Super Bowl, play for the team that you grew up a fan of, and ship you off to Cleveland. So good luck to him. Good luck to KP. Weapon 215. Let's give Barkley a real fullback, not a linebacker. Kyle Juszczyk is available. I'm not sure that they're going to do that, but I wouldn't mind it. I mean, a legit fullback, Saquon running behind this offensive line, the running game. Yeah. 2 from June. James Bradbury to safety to save us. Stop. They're cutting him as a post-June 1. JP is not the answer for that role. Cole for the 5. Remember, we have Jalix to replace Sweat is a big one. Remember, we have a lot of picks the next 2 years. Could see a jump early in either draft. It's a good point. Howie's getting the draft capital. Has it for a reason, can use it. D. Bettis, the 10. If Slay is cut, traded, CJ, GJ gone. Dean won't be ready week 1. Sweat Williams gone. We are going to need to draft defensive end, linebacker, cornerback, and safety. Come on, man. Howie doesn't draft that good. Forget optimism. Hang on now. Howie doesn't draft that good? Are you serious? You're trolling right here. Either that or you're not very well informed. I mean, if you go back and look at the last 4 drafts. We did multiple videos on this, but the last 4 drafts, Howie is 11 for 12, and you could argue 12 for 12. Like the first 3 picks in each of the last 4 drafts, and Howie has hit on those guys. Go back and look. Maybe I didn't read that correctly, or maybe it's sarcasm, but I hope that's just either that or you're trolling. Justin with the 5, scratch getting a rookie, let Howie get draft picks and trade in the draft for a safety or needed players. He's gonna cook. The draft is gonna be lit, and Thomas and I are gonna be streaming that as always. So make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be doing that for at least the first 2 days. We'll see about all 3 potential. But yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Kyle with a 2, appreciate that. Also free coupons with 2 with all these comp picks. Do we trade up now? I think we do. Said it earlier, but I think that we absolutely do. There's too much opportunity in those. So, and Howie loves to take advantage of the draft anyway. But with 4 in the 5th round, he's not going to take that many like back to back to back. So it's either he'll trade back or he'll get draft compensation for 2026, or to your point, do we trade up? I think that there's a potential. Now, it's not necessarily saying like in the first round, but third round, fourth round, there's some guys available. You probably see him packaging up something and trying to move up and get a guy. Telly with a 2. Here we go. Anyways, when is our tailgate meetup for 2025 season? Let's go. Yeah, we are working on figuring that one out. Probably a good ways to go, quite honestly, before, naturally, because it's still a long ways out. But Thomas and I are working through some dates, trying to figure out which games, an area we're going to be there, but then we will absolutely share, and would be great to connect again. The hope is, I think we're to try to make it like to at least one home game during the regular season, and then maybe try to do like an away game during the regular season. But obviously, full schedule hasn't come out of when they play. We know the home and away opponents, but try to make for those, and then if we can, obviously make a playoff game. So we shall see. Lots to come there. We'll definitely keep everybody up to date. Okay, been going for a little over an hour now, so I do need to jump off as well. But this was the craziest news so far. Shocking trade. CJ Gardner-Johnson to the Texans again for Kenyon Green, and a swap of 5th-round pick for a 6th-round pick. So did not see this one coming. Much wilder than the Kenny Pickett trade to the Browns. And it feels like this would be the biggest move that Howie makes. Not that there's anything else, but in terms of like external trades or anything like that, that feels like the biggest move. So keep an eye out. Mekhi Becton is not done. We'll keep you posted, updated. We will be going live if we have any other breaking news, anything there. JSoft with a 5. Do you think the CJ trade is a message to AJ to shutting his mouth? No, I don't think so, man. I think that there's even if AJ is posting some stuff on social media that some people don't like, it's not near to the effect of CJ. Like, everyone has, and I don't even know necessarily for CJ, but like everyone has AJ's back. Listen to all the press conferences, everybody talking, all the players, like everybody has AJ's back. I don't know if CJ's got brought up as much, but I doubt it. I feel like it's probably a little bit overblown to say, hey, watch it or we're moving on from you. We'll see. All right, D. Bettis with a 10 more. We didn't draft AJ, Bond, Barkley, Slay, CJ, GJ, Becton, guys in the trenches. Howie is good drafting, but to be honest, anything past the 3rd round, Howie is no good. Okay, but you're moving the goalposts, bro. You said that he's not good at drafting. Anything past the 3rd round, you realize that's 3 picks that's 12 picks. That is 12 picks over the last 4 drafts that he's hit on. So you can go back and look at that. You name a lot of guys that, sure, okay, you also acquire guys via free agency and via trades, but come on now. He's drafted guys that have made an impact. And even if it's saying, hey, he drafts in the trenches good, but he can't do other things well, fine. That's better than a lot of teams. There's a lot better track record than a lot of teams. We'll see. We'll see how this one turns out, though. The trade for CJ, like I said, I didn't really care for it. Don't really care for it. Maybe ends up being all right. I am trusting Howie. I am trusting him on that side. Jeff Stoutland and being fine. But like I said, any other breaking news, we'll be going live, so stay tuned. Probably a video that I was working on that'll be shifted a little bit around, so maybe later this afternoon. But stay tuned for that. As always, appreciate you guys. Till next time, go Birds.